The Maria is a great sort of platform for people to launch careers, friendships, teamwork, all those sorts of things that come together, that bonding experience that comes with the Maria Island Race. It is the training school for ocean racing in Tasmania.
John Bonetto certainly approached the race as a warm-up for the Sydney Hobart. He wanted to make sure the boat was prepared, the crews were right. He would try to use the same crew in the Maria as we were going to use in the Sydney Hobart.
You get the message that it could be this or worse on the Hobart.
And it sorts out your crew too. If you've got new guys and they're throwing up all the way around Maria, you've got to flick them.
Quite often with a sou'wester, when it's hard, the tide's against the wind, and that's when the waves really stand up, and it's really a boat wrecker.
I think Rod's probably had one of those when he left one of his mainsails up there at Tasman.
Yeah, we lost, the mainsail fell off the mast and the boom, and at Tasman on a jibe, disappeared. And that was the end of that race. That was certainly the most disappointing race for me, because I used to pride myself on getting the boat round without any gear damage.
It can be very pleasant going around Tasman Island, but I remember what my late brother Headley said, because he had done a lot of ocean racing. He said, it always blows harder on the corners.
I wasn't quite sure about this when I heard about the race being described as a fool's race, where you'd go around Tasman Island twice in 24 hours. I got to the bottom of the story, and it was from a Sydney sider that actually had no idea. So, but we won't name names, but Dog should be very disappointed in saying that.
Violently object to that statement. It's a fantastic race. It's a spectacular race. I love the Maria Island Race. It's one of my favourite races because you get to round Tasman twice, hopefully within 24 hours. And the cliffs and the scenery down there, as you know, are spectacular. And I think it's a fantastic race.
I've been very fortunate that I've always had such a very good crew. Rob Horn and Elson Kiddle. David Gourlay, he sailed with me, but he applied for redundancy. Clark Lamprell was always one, or is always one, to come up with a good one-liner. I remember one occasion we were in the Maria race. We'd gone round the island inside out, up the Mercury Passage, and come back the outside, and we met some boats that hadn't got to the island yet. And Clark said, "Oh, look at that," he said. "By the time those blokes finish, there'll be nothing more than a puff of smoke out of Fullsank's chimney."
Probably the most ground lost was when I managed to sail Mirrabooka in under Bishop and Clark on the northern end of Maria once, and it was very light. And even though we gave it a bit of a berth, we didn't give it a wide enough berth, and we sat there for quite some time. I wasn't very proud of myself on that occasion.
You can get there first every time and sit there and just watch everyone come up and take your handicap. Yeah. That's very frustrating.
There'd be a couple of boats we'd watch very closely, and Doctor Who would be one of those, because Arthur Masters is one of the best navigators that you'd find, and all the crew on Doctor Who know what they're doing.
When Sol was navigating early on in the Maria races that we were doing, you'd ask him, "Where are we, John?" And I hope I'm allowed to say this, and his answer would be, "What do I know?"
You've got to aim at Tasman Island, but don't hit it.
I think it's a good idea to approach Tasman fairly close, even when coming back from the northern direction, but I wouldn't approach it directly from the north. I think hugging the southern aspect of Tasman is a good idea. There is a brick off there that you've got to watch out for.
Don't get too wide, and same with the row. The Row, you want to stay a little bit further out, maybe 400 metres, 500 metres. But Tasman, you've got to hug it pretty close.
In one Maria race, a sea fog came in. And anyway, we could just had to steer by the compass, and it was just a light southerly. And the other boats were close by, and we could hear their spinnaker poles rattling. And anyway, one of the crew, who remained nameless, decided he'd have a bit of fun here. So he stood up on top of the cabin, and he went, bah, bah. And all the boats suddenly jibed and headed for New Zealand.
Calvert's got a reputation as being pretty smart, mainly in the river, but he's no fool wherever he goes.
The superstition that we have is to try not to have anything green on the boat.
No, we never carried any grog on board.
When it became very light breezes, someone would go up and have to scratch the mast to bring wind. The yacht Tasmania did a lot for offshore sailing here in Tasmania, and that was probably a mix of some of the best talent we had here at the time. So that was a pleasure to sail against those guys.
I was on the Ketch Tasmania when we broke the record.
All in all, it stood up really good, and I think it was a great experience for everyone, and gets us up our learning curve for the Sydney Hobart race a lot further. And if we can crack this record, well, everybody will be nice and happy.
To break the record was always special, and I'm sure that record is always up for grabs.
It can be very pleasant going around Tasman Island, but it can be bad.
I've used the big white telephone a few times.
You may have mentioned, what the hell am I doing out here? You might have mentioned, what the hell am I doing out here?
Yeah, I'll say, yeah. But not always, and...
He gets back here after the race, into the bar, mate. Oh, we better go next year.
I've said on occasions, more than once, when it's that bad, I've said, I think I should take up indoor carpet bowls.
Yeah, no, we've enjoyed it. It's a good race.